everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis. I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner, and my mind's in 1,000 different places right now.
I'm Mitch. I'm a dumb runner that is really getting frustrated at this point, and it's not been that long.
Oh, man. Not getting in the miles or hurt?
I tried. Yesterday, I thought I was supposed to run that race last weekend. I didn't. I waited, and then I thought, I'll do 3 miles yesterday morning. Got up. It didn't hurt any more than it does normally, but it was feeling better, but then it hurts. Like the rest of the day, I can hardly walk on my stupid foot.
So it's probably a good thing you didn't run a marathon on it.
Well, it probably would have hurt just as much. 3 miles or 26 miles. That's where the dumb part comes in, maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you're in the process of getting it repaired or fixed or healed or whatever.
Whatever that takes, but it is one of the worst injuries, I think, for a runner. Because it just doesn't.
There's no
fast tracking. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Well, you're ahead of me with 3 miles this week. So I have, you're truly lazy. Well,
yeah,
there's some laziness to it for sure. Or I would say, and I was talking
smart.
I was talking to Karen about this a little bit. She'd reached out wanting to run. Great. I appreciate it. I appreciate anybody. He's like, hey, let's go run. And I realized in that response, I'm like, I'm happy right now not chasing anything. So I'm not chasing a race. I'm not chasing miles. I'm not chasing anything with running. And the runs that I have done this year have been fun. They've been enjoyable. No pressure, no stress. So I will say I'm in a place right now where it is nice to just enjoy the run again without anything.
That's part of it. Is I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. I got, a bunch of new states this year. I am that close. Like I have that many more to go, and I signed up for 2 more. And now I'm like, should I have signed up for those?
I mean, I don't know. With where your injury was, maybe not. I mean, but who knows? You were getting through a lot of running just fine until hiking, until the whole hiking thing and the whole pacing thing, which is essentially hiking a lot. I mean, who knows? That could have been the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, for this year. But I think the nice thing is to see you making a change this year compared to prior years where you would ignore it more so than you have.
I don't think it's given me a choice. But prior years, when my back got messed up, I took multiple months off.
Yeah.
I was shut down.
I guess that took you out more so than this has.
Like I couldn't even stand up straight.
Right. Yeah. Kind of a forced break, I guess, so to speak. But yeah, I have not been getting it in. I have been, it's not always just a time thing where I feel like I'm out of time. It's more just a motivation thing. I need some motivation because I have different things going on. I'm juggling a lot of things right now with new things that are in my life. And so that has been taking precedent over running right now. And so with the fall around the corner, it seems.
I'm getting, I don't know. I think it's already affecting me. I'm not kidding. I'm not being able to run, and I'm not.
Oh yeah.
So knowing that right after fall is that cold crap.
Yeah.
So I'm already.
But are you looking forward? And anybody listening, are you looking forward to fall running?
I love fall.
Yeah, and I love the smell.
I do. I hate what comes after.
I do too. There's definitely nothing I like about what comes after, but man, I do enjoy, as much as I love the summer, like don't get me wrong, summer is my favorite. Love running all summer in the heat, which has bummed me out because I've had a lot of heat to be able to run in and mugginess and just suffering, and I haven't been out in it. Yeah, haven't been out in it. But when I think of fall and going out and smelling the fall smells, man, it is a draw.
It does make me think about when we've gone out. It was me, you, Nicole, and Clint running before. We got pictures out on the trail out there with all the fall, with all the leaves turning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just dinking around, like not even running hard. Just
enjoying the run and everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
Conversation, views, things like that. Yeah, very, very cool. So I am looking forward to that. On that note, I am excited today, this week. Thinking about the podcast and talking about things, and you had messaged like, hey, you know, what time were you recording? And I said, well, hey, we should talk about UTMB. If you are an ultra runner, you are probably aware, and if you're not, you should be. UTMB is going on right now as we speak.
Not when the episode comes out.
True, that's true. As of this recording, like the time of this recording, it is going on as we speak. We will not be able to cover a lot. We will say currently that Jim has a 2-minute lead at the 25-ish, 6-ish mile mark.
And that's nothing. He's it's basically the first 100 feet of a 5K.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. But it was cool. They've been running in a pack, that front lead group, for the first 20-ish miles. And he finally, between the last 2 aid stations, probably did a little surge and just feeling it out because it is so early.
You know, I saw something on that too, that he is now coming back as a returning champ. First time for that race.
Hayden Hawk just won the 100K again.
Okay.
So he did, that one is finished and he won that. That was pretty cool. And now we're getting in a little bit deep into this. We don't want to cover it too much. We do want to talk a little more extensively on the next episode because UTMB is such an iconic race when it comes to ultra running.
So here's something. Would you do that one if it came up?
It would only be...
That one's hard.
It is. It's it's like a 42-hour cutoff for that one. The winners finish in roughly 20 hours. The average 30 to 42 or something like that. That thing has 30, I looked today, well, put it this way, over 30,000 foot of elevation gain.
I see you get into that one, and then we spend some time out there at the same time.
Well, a buddy of mine, we talked about this on a run quite a while ago. This is probably back in the
last
spring.
time we ran together.
Yeah, back in the spring. He's wanting to line up a trip out there to do the UTMB course, but it's on a tour. Okay. And so it takes like 3 or 4 days. No, they do pretty good sized chunks, which would be a lot of fun. You run good sized chunks daily and you get to do the UTMB course essentially. That's a big one. If I was given an entry to that and had a year to prepare, 100% I would go do it without a doubt. 100%. Because it's big.
Knowing the cost, you'd be like, I don't know. Because that's going to be more expensive in Western states.
Yeah, it would. I would find a way to do it on the cheap, probably. You know, I bet you could do it you could do it cheaper than Western.
Right. I mean,
not flight. Take the flight out, and I'll bet the rest you could.
You could do Western cheaper than what you have.
Yeah, you could. But, man, housing is so expensive out there.
Right.
Now, you could camp or you could do something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I would do that race, but it would have to come with a lot of I don't want to jump through hoops. And at my age where I'm at, to think of starting that now.
You've just said the old guy, at my age.
I'm just saying, I could be 60 before I get into that race.
You finally admitted it. You're old.
Well, I'm not the oldest around.
That was a get off my lawn statement if I ever heard one.
No, that's not even close. I just recognize that getting into that race takes a little bit. But anyway, speaking of ultras, that's what we want to talk about on this episode a little bit. We have some friends all around us that are taking the next step. And they've ran some marathons, they've ran trail races, and some have actually done some ultras, some 50 milers or attempted 100Ks. So sorry.
I hope
man.
I hope I'm not going to give it away. I hope this person is listening.
She's listening. Yeah, that's a bummer.
It is.
But that's a perfect learning experience. She learned.
A good story at this
is.
point because again, every time something bad happens,
Yeah.
what do we talk? What did we learn?
Yeah, she
So
learned.
You learn.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, what's such a bummer, hindsight is more than 2020, right? It is, man, she has even said she had so much time, she could have literally taken a nap, as you know, at that race.
Yeah,
got dry clothes on.
That was the problem is she got so wet.
Yeah, but she knows now, and she learned. But the thing of it is, I learned, and so here's the thing. We're talking about 50 mile and up. Not that 50K is not an ultra. 100% it is.
I agree, and it depends on the 50K because there's some pretty tough 50Ks out there. If you think like Marquette 50K, that's a hard race.
Yeah.
Even Bigfoot, the conditions out there, it's a harder race.
Yeah. And maybe it's not necessarily distance as much as time.
Yeah.
Because look at the Mummy Marathon. That's not a normal marathon.
Right.
But
50K, generally speaking,
it is.
It's not much different than a marathon.
Right.
It is really that next. It's just
Calhaven
a little
Trail.
Yeah.
It's just like a marathon.
I've got
a little bit harder.
I got marathons way slower than that.
Yeah, so do I. The Mummy. My goodness. So anyway, what we want to talk about is what it takes to take that next step from the marathon distance, and I would say even 50K, up to the 50 mile and further. And not necessarily way further, because we're not going to talk necessarily about the 100 mile distance, but what does it take? And
we'll talk about the 100 mile, but really focus going.
It's really the next step.
It's really the next step, because if you're thinking about doing 50 miles, it's a big step. And again, if you go, and we'll get into that too, 50 miles to 100K, it's only 12 more miles. It's a pretty big step.
That's a big 12 miles.
It's a big 12 miles.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And so I started thinking about this week, this content or just this subject. And I thought, looking back on times where I was in shape and for both the marathon and the 50 mile, because I was in pretty good shape when I did my first 50 mile. And there's a couple of things you have to consider. Number one is you're generally speaking going from a road to a trail. Not always. You can find 50 milers out there that are road.
The one in South Africa.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And there's some here that are road, like Pistol is mostly asphalt.
It's bike trail.
Bike trail.
Yep.
So you can find them. So this isn't a hard and fast, like this is what you do, but this is a good general rule, or not even rule. I'm just making a good general,
it's a
summary
and trying to explain how best to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the first thing I would say is just change your perspective. When I looked at my marathon times back when I did my first 50 mile, I was running around a 3:15, plus or minus 5 minutes. I was around a 3:10 to a 3:20. Now, what I look at then is what was my 50 miler time, and it was about 8.5 hours. So just to give people a perspective, I was in equal amount of shape for both of those and doing equal amount of training for both of those. Then I still trained, just not a ton. Like I was consistent, but I didn't run 5-6 days a week. I ran 3 or 4, but it was consistently 3 or 4. Jason still gets mad at me for that because I didn't run as many days.
You guys all signed up and did it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did, my first 50 was in Wisconsin.
Yeah. North Country or North Face.
Yeah.
North Face.
So you guys did Woodstock.
Yeah. So keeping perspective is so key because you're not going to go out and quote unquote run or crush a 50. Like you can, but it's a different race. It's a different mindset. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to jog, walk sometimes, potentially.
It's interesting for me. I think what you have to realize too, or it is a different mindset, and you have to think about it early, because you run a hard marathon and you get done and you can't run any further. You can't do that. You can't run a marathon and then just keep going. It doesn't work that way. So
Right.
you got to set up early. So
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is what I was always told, and this is, we didn't know each other when I ran my first. Well, we didn't know each other that well.
Yep.
We weren't running together, but I ran my first, and everybody told me that had done them, walk the hills early. So every hill that you hit early, it's all about conserve.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things that I
was told the same thing. Walk every hill. Just walk every hill. And here's the thing, the reason, especially as your first one, and I would still agree with this, your first one, don't put up this huge goal of crushing a time or crushing a pace or anything like that. Don't go to Ultra Runner sign up and look at times and go, I would love to be in this area. Don't even do that. Just focus on the completion of the race. Be solid with your training and don't worry about the time. Worry about the completion. Number one, I would say you're going to have a more enjoyable time that way.
Yeah.
Because if you go out with an expectation of crushing a time, you're probably going to get humbled. You're probably going to get knocked down because it is just different. So for me, the reason I share my times is to just give those an idea. So if you doubled my time, let's say it was even at 3:30, double that time to 7 and add an hour and a half, just to give a perspective of how fast you can go that distance. So you're doubling, if you're doubling a marathon, so you're going 52 miles, let's say, it'll give you an idea of what kind of like where you should be adding your time, right? So if you're a 4-hour marathoner, maybe you double it and add an hour. So
at least, well, you think about that. We always, general rule for half to full is times 2 plus 10. But
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I would say times 2. Yeah, I would say
an hour.
Plus an hour.
Yeah. And so for you, let's say you were in 3.
I was 3.5.
3.5. And so 7, 8. What was your first 50? 9? 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gives you an idea.
I was on course for 9, and then I was wearing a heart rate monitor. And I could feel it. I could tell. I didn't even need the heart rate monitor. That last 10 miles, my heart was spiking. It got hot. And every time, and I ran out of water a couple times, so I was probably dehydrated. But my heart rate was I'd start running and it would go through the roof. So I was getting scared. So, and that was my first experience with that distance. So I backed way off. I took it really easy that last section. And
yeah. So I guess that's the first thing is understand you need to change your perspective, change your goals. Well, not necessarily your goals, but don't feel like you have to set time goals and things like that.
Set a reasonable goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what we're saying, like double your marathon time and add an hour or 2 and be very happy with that. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's on the fast end of what you would want to set your goal.
And keep in mind too, again, like you said, not all races you can find road 50 milers, but keep in mind if that's your road race time.
Yeah.
That's not, so if you think about it, my PR trail marathon time is probably right around 4 hours, 4:10.
Yeah.
So if I did that times 2 plus an hour, I was right in there.
Yeah.
If you went off the off-road time.
Yeah, 9 to 10 hours. Yeah.
Because it's not smooth sailing.
No, definitely not.
Then if you're talking about Marquette, at about 4 hours.
Yeah, level of difficulty of the 50 miler is going to dictate the percentage you need to add.
Oh my
But
gosh.
just change that expectation. Don't have lofty expectations of killing a time and coming in at a certain place. Don't even worry about it. If this is your first one, take that approach. Second thing is the training side of things, I would say it's the one thing that everybody gets told: do your back-to-backs, your back-to-back long runs.
It's basically just like marathon training. But the biggest difference is Saturday, Sunday long runs is double up. And I don't know if people hear that. Like, to us, we double up all the time. You think about it, you do double long runs. Well, what's that? If you're marathon training, you just do one.
Yeah.
Nope. And you make that second day suck. So,
yeah, you're learning how to run on dead legs.
Yep.
That's what you're trying to do, is get out there, learn how to continue and run. And you'd be amazed how much, a buddy of mine, he said that changed it for him. When he was doing that, it taught him that he could run after a hard run. Now, I would say this: don't go out and smoke a long run and then run the next day. They should both be fairly reserved and slow.
They're not. They're long runs. And if you take that, and if you could look at any training plan, when you talk about your pace, it should not be a tempo pace.
Right.
It's long run pace. And if you don't know what that means, reach out. Long run pace is much slower than daily run pace.
Your heart rate should not be higher than zone 2.
Yeah. It should be conversation. You should be able to talk.
Maybe touching zone 3 on an uphill or something like that. But it needs to be really easy. Mm-hmm. The run will take you longer than you want, time-wise, to go the distance, but that doesn't matter. It needs to be so easy that nutrition isn't even hardly a thing. So just keep that in mind. And if you're adding the back-to-backs, that's pretty much all you got to do.
That's a good point, though, too, is you should be doing this on your marathon training anyway, is that you should be practicing your nutrition. So if you're going to eat junk food out there, you should be practicing how that sits in your stomach on those long runs.
Yeah, I would say that's next is nutrition, is practice it. Practice all the things you could possibly want. You're going to have time, like especially if you have time. Some people are getting maybe close to their race coming up because we are starting to get into some fall races coming up. But get out there and practice. Like, have fruit. Like I would put fruit outside my door in a cooler, and I would go out and do 10 miles. I'd come back, eat a bunch of fruit, go out and do 10 miles, come back, drink a Coke, eat some cheese and crackers or whatever, anything. PBJ, perfect example.
But you should be looking at or talking to your friends that run ultras and what typical food is at those aid stations. If you do it, it would help to actually do a trail marathon. You'd see it. But some of that stuff isn't that appetizing that they put out. Like, you get there and you're like, I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
So you might have to think about carrying your own food.
Yeah. And on that note, it may not be appetizing, or it may be appetizing. And I would say, and I have read, or I have been told, if it looks good, eat it, because you're going to need it. And I know we've talked about this with Terrence a little bit on the PT Sports Pro side of things, but I am a proponent of, if it's on the smorgasbord in front of you and it looks good, eat it. Because and I guess that's the difference between 50 and 100.
But even 50, you're just touching into your stomach matters.
Your last
10 miles.
10 to 15, you could get to that point where you're nothing.
And then you can suck it up for 10 or 15 miles.
Yeah.
But if you get, jumping ahead 100 miles, if you get your stomach turns at 50 miles, you're going to have issues.
Yeah. You've got to go another 50 on something. So yeah, if I would say practice, as we have said, and this is to Terrence's point, practice with a bunch.
It was interesting when I just paced Laura and he come into the last couple aid stations, they were making smoothies. Those were pretty tasty.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of smoothies?
Like, they had bananas and fruit and all kinds.
I'm just not a smoothie fan.
I'm not either, but I'm telling you, after eating all that other crap, it was so refreshing out there. Like, I wouldn't sit there. Like, Clint's funny. Like, he'll get up, and when he's in workout mode, he gets up and he has a smoothie with spinach and all this other crap in it. I'm not that guy.
Yeah. I'm not.
But it tasted good then.
Yeah. A fruit smoothie is probably going to taste pretty good, especially then.
Yeah.
It's cold. Was it cold?
Yeah.
nice and ice cold. Yeah. See that would probably be good. Yeah. And a change.
And get something in your stomach.
Yes.
And I was only 20 miles in, like at that point.
Yeah. Of how far?
I did around 30.
Okay. So yeah, nutrition is a huge one with the 50 miler. You are really going to dip into reserves. I've heard the other thing is eat soon and eat often.
And pay attention to your hydration.
Yeah, totally. The hydration you got to stay on top of. But make sure you're getting calories in. And if you can eat real food at the first aid station, start eating it. Eat it early and eat it often.
Yeah, you don't think about that when you're running a marathon. You want light stuff. You want stuff that's not going to mess with your stomach. You're not going that fast in a 50.
Yeah, and if you are, you're going to get humbled. You're going to get knocked down in the second half.
Unless you're Jim Walmsley.
Yeah, true. But we're not talking to those people. We're talking to first timers and things like that. People that do have they're sitting there going, I don't know if I should do this. Well, here you go.
Should.
Yeah, you should. And so that's the nutrition side thing. And then the next thing is the race approach. I would say, as we've already kind of talked about, like, don't try to go out there and crush it. Just enjoy the race. Understand that you need to slow it way down and walk. And be fine. You gotta, and so for the road runners out there, that's all they've done, 5K, 10K, 25K, marathon, half marathon. It's hard for us to stop and go, you're telling me to walk now?
I do want to point something out though. So it's still a race. So there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
So you still want to move.
Yeah.
We talk about this, and this is my opportunity to pick on Lewis. Aid stations. Don't sit down. If you're doing a 50 miler, you don't need to sit down. You need to just grab something and walk through and just keep moving. As long as you don't have to throw a cup in the woods. You got to take care of your trash, but you can eat and move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just understand that you're going to slow down. Mm-hmm. And yes, there is a sense of urgency. But get it out of your head that you have to run for 50 miles. Mm-hmm. And again, not to say that people don't do that. We're talking about this is your first time. You have some anxieties about the distance. You have some apprehension about even getting into one because it's a big jump up from the marathon. You can do it, but it's get in your back-to-backs in training. Try your nutrition in training. Lots of different nutritions. Learn how to eat real food. And instead of doing 10 miles, do 5 miles. If you got a 15 miler, go out and run 4 or 5 miles and come back and eat something real. And then do another 5.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to get used to understanding how your body's processing something.
I would probably, I would still do speed work and stuff like that during the week. I would still do stuff like that. I think that still helps quite a bit. But, again, that's like twice a week in your midweek runs. And then,
we're talking long runs here.
Yeah. So as
far as the eating.
Yeah. And then your normal, if you're just a 3 mile a day kind of person, you might want to double that.
Yeah. You're going to need to step up the midweek stuff. I mean, again, marathon training with some longer runs on the weekends. And it's easy. We could say, we could set you up with a 50-mile plan, but honestly, there's so many. Just go Google 50-mile training plan and you'll see the back-to-backs. Just follow those. But I will say this, those at least that I have talked to, and I believe this is probably true for most any marathoner that's done a marathon or two. If you want to jump up to the 50, you can do it. Like if you've ran your marathon, like just go out there and do it. Just follow the training, get in a group, understand what you're getting into, change your perspective on what you have to do and what you have to accomplish time-wise, and you can do it. It's a big accomplishment. Going 50 miles, that's a long ways.
It's weird. My progression, like if you think about it, I went 10K, marathon, did a bunch of marathons.
Yeah.
Like did a back-to-back. So did 2 marathons in 2 days.
Yep.
And then bumped up and did Pikes Peak was my first thing that I thought I was
Only a marathon.
only a marathon. You should do that. It's only a marathon. And then
half of it's downhill.
I know. That part sucked too. And then I jumped up to a 50 miler. And then I think I attempted the Grand Canyon going across and back.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
make it. And then when did I jumped up to 100K.
Yeah.
The 100K was a big undertaking too. I mean, going from 50 to 100K, I thought, well, that's only 12 more miles. But again,
Well, when you're talking a 10-hour and now you got to go another 12 miles at that speed.
Yeah.
At 4 miles, let's say if I'm saying 4 miles an hour just to kind of make it easy for math, but I mean, that's another 3 hours.
If you're still in good shape after that first 50.
True. But I think you can do 4 miles an hour because it's roughly a 15-minute. Yeah. It's 15-minute mile, depending on, you got to pace that. But that's a stiff walk or, that's a brisk walk. So, which is tough to do on the trail sometimes.
And you have more time in a 100K than you do a 50
Yeah,
miler,
true.
obviously.
True. But I mean, that's 3 more hours. So that's 13. That is
I want to
leaving the sun.
I want to think that's my best time
For 100K?
Yeah, when you paced me, and I think I was 5th overall, and we were passing people, we're lapping people at the end.
Yeah,
but that was
probably around that.
Trying
to think. I don't know that I think I've done 100K, but I don't. Oh yeah, Marquette. That was probably not 13 hours.
No,
that was.
It was dumb.
I'm trying to think of my fastest 50 mile up there. I bet it's over 9 hours still for Marquette.
Mine was 3rd from last up there.
Yeah, the 50 mile.
Not last.
That's my only 100K though. I have not done any other 100Ks. I'd like to because I think it is a fun distance. Kind of like going, I think fun because of the 100. Everything is in reference to the 100 mile. Which,
I know one that's coming up. And
February.
There's this place, I don't know, that puts it on.
Pointing at the javelina buckle on the table.
Wait, who's it put on by?
Aravaipa.
Does it say it on there anywhere?
I don't know. Does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to kick things to that because this year just didn't work out. Schedule and ankle, and yeah, I mean, I don't want to just go and run a race. I want to go and race a race. Not that I can win. It's just I want to go and see how fast I can go. So yeah, it might have to be.
It's only 12 more miles.
True. We'll see. But
I know what that means.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
We'll see. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to just kind of put that out there for those that are interested in the 50 mile or ultra distance. And even if you are going from, we kind of said, don't worry about the 50K. And I would say, don't worry about the 50K. If you're thinking about doing that next step to a 50K, do it.
Yeah.
Sign up.
Yeah. We're not poo-pooing it at all.
Not at all. It is still a step up.
It's a step up, but it's way different. It is weird when you cross the marathon mark for a 50K for the first time. You're like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why am I out here anymore?
Yeah.
I could be done.
It's funny because it seems like every race you do after the half marathon. So when you do the marathon and you see the people cut off for the half, you're like, if I was just doing the half today.
Bunch of jerks.
When I remember doing the Burning River, I remember when we crossed the 50 mile mark and we're like, son of a, if it was just 50 mile today, this would be a piece of cake.
Well, what's cool about
perspective. It's all perspective.
What's cool about that run too is you can do the first 50 or the second 50.
Now, yeah.
But even when you did it, I think you could.
Maybe.
Yeah, you just didn't probably pay attention because that's not what you're doing. But you can either do the first 50 or the night 50.
Yeah. And that course is completely changed now. It's just an out and back. And it's completely different now.
Oh.
They've changed it quite a bit. I think you do. So yeah, I think you start at the finish now instead of one way. It's not point to point anymore.
Okay.
So.
Well, easier to.
But they do still have the 250s. I do know that. they bust out the 50. Yeah, they bust out the 50s now.
But I like the size of that buckle.
Yeah, I do too. It's definitely the big. I was surprised this one how close to the size that one is, because they're known for just being a big buckle. But anyway, yeah, if you're out to challenge yourself and take that next step, I would highly recommend you do it. Follow the training. Don't worry about it. Don't get all stressed out about it. Follow the training, and you'll be surprised. I think physically, and I want to say this the right way, road beats you up more to me than what trail does.
Unless you fall down.
Well, unless you fall. but from
I fall.
man, marathons hurt. All that asphalt pounding to me hurts different than and more than trail 50. I think.
I usually fall down, so.
Well, you just got to stay up.
Yeah.
Watch where you're putting your feet.
I do. But then my neck gets all sore from looking down the whole time.
So, well, hey, go sign up for the next 50 that you cross, and let us know how it goes. And yeah, go check us out. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Go check out the UTMB website, see what's going on. Oh, it's over. But go check it out and see who won. And we're going to talk about it next week anyway. So, but yeah, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook. Follow us on Patreon. Join the team. Do all of that. And with that, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy running.